Rain pattered softly against the glass windows of Harbor Café, a small family-run restaurant tucked on the corner of 5th and Willow. The morning rush had just ended, leaving only a few tables occupied. Behind the counter, Lena, a shy 23-year-old waitress, carefully wiped down menace, her fingers trembling slightly as they always did when she knew her manager was watching. Lena wasn't good with words, not because she didn't have them, but because she rarely used them. She spoke softly, almost apologetically, and most customers barely noticed her beyond the polite smile she forced herself to wear. Until that morning, the bell above the door jingled and a man stepped in, tall, dressed in a neat gray sweater, his eyes kind but searching. He looked around uncertainly before sitting by the window. When Lena approached with her notepad, he smiled and gestured something she didn't understand. Then he pointed to his ear and shook his head gently. He was deaf. Lena froze. Words had never come easy to her, but now she had none at all. The man fumbled with his phone, typing a message: "Sure, coffee, please, black, thank you." Lena nodded, but before turning away, she hesitated. Her mind flashed back to her younger brother, born deaf, who she had helped learn sign language when they were kids. She hadn't used it in years, not since he passed away. Her hands trembled slightly, but then she signed for "hello." The man's eyes lit up instantly. He grinned, surprised. Then she added, slowly but clearly, "Tor, how are you?" He laughed silently, his whole face lighting up, and signed back, "Good, you." For the next few minutes, Lena took his order entirely in sign language. She wasn't perfect. Sometimes she forgot signs and improvised, but the joy on his face made her forget her fear. When she brought his coffee, he tapped his chest and signed, "Thank you." What Lena didn't know was that someone else had been watching. At the far end of the cafe, a man in a dark coat sat quietly with his laptop. His name was Ethan Cross, Billionaire CEO of Crosstech Industries, and he was in town for one morning only, escaping boardrooms for a rare moment of peace. The entire exchange between Lena and the deaf man had caught his attention, not because of spectacle, but because of something rare, genuine kindness with no audience. He had seen enough people treat waitstaff like furniture. But this girl, she had looked nervous, unsure, yet still went out of her way to make a stranger feel seen. When the deaf man finished, he left her a small note on the bill that read, "Tor, you made my day. People rarely try. Thank you for speaking my language." Elena folded it carefully, her throat tight. She didn't notice Ethan stand up and walk over. "Excuse me." His deep voice broke the quiet. "I couldn't help but notice what you did for that man." She turned, startled. "Oh, it wasn't a big deal." "It was," Ethan said simply. "You didn't do it for attention. That's what makes it rare." She blushed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It just felt right." He smiled faintly. "Do you know who I am?" She shook her head. "Good," he said, half laughing. "Because I want you to keep being exactly who you are. My company's launching a new community initiative, employing and training people who help bridge communication barriers. We're looking for someone with heart, not just a rare same. Would you come meet my team tomorrow?" Lena blinked.
Yes, you,"
he said, slipping a sleek black card onto the counter. "Kindness like yours shouldn't go unnoticed." The next morning, Lena arrived at a towering glass building downtown. She was nervous, clutching her worn bag and that note from the deaf man like a lucky charm. Ethan met her in the lobby, shook her hand, and introduced her to a small group of smiling people. Weeks later, Harbor Café got a framed letter from Crosstech Industries. Inside it read, "Chor to Harbor Café, thank you for reminding us that humanity begins with simple gestures. Because one shy waitress said hello, thousands more will now be heard." And Lena, she never stopped signing. In her new role, she trained restaurant staff across the city on how to communicate with deaf customers. She started a quiet movement, one that began with trembling hands and a single, gentle word. Sometimes it's not the loudest voices that change the world, but the quietest ones who choose to speak when it matters most. Months passed, and Lena's quiet act of kindness began to ripple far beyond what she could have ever imagined. Videos of her training sessions started circulating online, short clips showing her teaching sign language to baristas, cashiers, and young waiters who had never before considered how to communicate with someone who couldn't hear them. Her sincerity shone through each video, no flash, no filters, just warmth. Ethan watched from afar, quietly proud. He had given her the platform, but it was Lena who gave it a purpose. Under her guidance, Cross-text silent connection. Initiatives spread across the country. Cafes, restaurants, and even airports began implementing simple sign language programs for employees. One chilly morning, as Lena was finishing up a workshop at a local community center, she noticed a young woman lingering by the door. She looked nervous, holding a little boy's hand. The child had hearing aids, his curious eyes fixed on Lena's moving hands. The mother approached shyly. "Excuse me, are you Lena?" Lena nodded with her usual soft smile. "I just wanted to say thank you," the woman said, voice trembling. "My son's only 5, and before this program, no one ever tried to talk to him when we went out. Yesterday, a cashier signed good morning to him. He was so happy he couldn't stop smiling all day." Alina knelt down to meet the boy's eyes and signed gently, "You're amazing." The little boy's face lit up like a sunrise, and his small hand signed back clumsily, "Thank you." The mother wiped her eyes, whispering, "You have no idea how much this means." That night, as Lena walked home under the soft glow of streetlights, she thought about how one simple moment, one trembling hello, had turned into something that reached thousands. She thought of her brother and smiled, hoping somehow he could see what had become of the language they once shared.